Hello, hello. My name is Whitney Freya, and I am beyond grateful for the opportunity to share with you what is coming up soon. Our kickoff call on September 26th, the Creative Frequency Coaching Training. So for those of you who don't know, in a nutshell, in an itty bitty nutshell, I started the Creatively Fit coaching training back in 2010. It came about as a result of a woman from Africa emailing me asking if I had an African branch and proceeding in a very long, passionate email to talk about the plight of women in Nigeria and how she really felt my work would help. And my ego, left brain, kind of stuttered and choked when I read her question, do you have an African branch? Because I was like, I don't have a stick or a twig or anything. It's just me. And I'd also had a woman at a book signing that spring ask me if I taught others how to teach art the way I do. And my answer was, we're working on that. So who we were and all of that is, still a mystery, but it was circling and wanting to come through. What I did when I got the email from the woman in Nigeria is something that I will advise all of you to do, really in making any decisions, because the email had so much energy, right? So when there's a lot of attraction or resonance, or there's a lot of passion, that means there's a lot of energy. And I decided to wait 24 hours to respond to her and see what would come up. And at the time, it was July 2010. I was here in Oregon, just visiting at the time in this rural county of only 7,000 people. And within like 12 hours, two people brought up Nigeria to me. There was a Catholic priest from Nigeria going home, and there was a going away party. And one of the guys who was starting the internet business was raised in Nigeria. And I was like, what? Like literally no one else has spoken the word Nigeria to me in this county since. So I went back to that email and responded very mindfully. And the result was bundling together the online programs I had at the time, and Project Nigeria was created. And the result was the participants, 13 of them, became creatively fit coaches. I put it on the website for January 2011, very quietly, because meanwhile, my inner logical rational self was like, sister, you don't have certifications or training in anything. So what business do you have certifying people? And I'm like, yeah, right. So we're just going to put it on there. And if it wants to come through and happen, it will. And I had 18 women sign up for that training in January 2011. And it had lots of changes and iterations, but I was basically leading that training from September 2010 until this past March. Like I'm still finishing up the Creatively Fit coaching training. But this winter in Australia, I was sitting on a rock next to the ocean. And what came to mind was a conversation I had had somewhat recently where I was talking about this creative practice and this painting practice that blended spirituality and painting. And I said the words, I still don't know why this is so transformative. Like it's a simple practice, but people, thousands of people over the years have expressed how they've healed or overcome, or they're, taking new action, living bolder, choosing more from their heart, like whatever it is. And part of me still like, painting, or still from the painting. And so what I got in that moment on the seashore was like literally the answer. And it's still surprising to me how cyclical these life is, right? But in that moment, I was given total clarity. It was like, it's because when you go to the canvas, the way you invite people to go to the canvas, which is to go detached from any fear of not being good enough, of needing to produce something that would result in money or hanging on the wall, because you invite people to go to the canvas with an energy of freedom, to explore and intuitively allow there to be a conversation between their creative self and their human self, they enter into a creative frequency. And that frequency is resonant with anything anyone would want that is in alignment with transformation. So any kind of change you want to experience, whether it's more travel, less travel, more physical vitality, a soulmate, a bigger house, a smaller house, like whatever it is, there's going to be some sort of change that's going to happen, right? Because you haven't experienced that yet. So change is creativity, right? So the emphasis is now just shifted, like pivoted just a little bit, but enough, because as we know, right, like just little shifts can lead to very different places. The focus has become on generating, nurturing, getting to know, and aligning with an energy, a frequency, a vibration that is resonant with change and possibility and presence and hope and love. Okay. And what I saw also in that moment was this whole new motivation and awareness around like, wow, I've got a busy day, or I'm at a pivotal point in my life. I want to make sure and align with that creative frequency, align with my creative frequency, like in the morning before I go out into the world. When I'm feeling confused or overwhelmed, I'm going to get into that creative frequency, because it's like turning the boat, and instead of going against the current, going with the current. I want to be going with the current on this, right? And so it has evolved from there. The training is completely new content from the Creatively Fit coaching training. There are only over like 25 Creatively Fit coaches who are paying to join this new training, because they also sense, the shift, and they also want to plug back into the community. This community is like Christmas morning every day. And those of you who are here and in it, you know what I mean. I love you all so much. And it's like a mutual respect and admiration and inspiration collective. And it's just magical. I believe firmly that together we are so much more. And this community is united in our passion for possibility and for color and for paint and for playfulness and fun that manifests itself also practically in our life. Like living life is art. And the reduction in stress, the greater self-awareness, the more resilience, all these real life skills that we gain from our painting practice is very real and tangible. And we want to turn around and share it with others. So let me take you into the slides. I'm going to share with you the structure of the training, so you can understand what you might experience in the 8-month training, as well as different ways you can use the training moving forward, and then also have time for some Q&A. If you're watching the replay, you will have an opportunity to email me and ask me any questions as well. So let me share my screen and get us to the slides. All right, so here we go. And we'll slideshow. Okay, perfect. Wow, there we go. Okay, so here is the Creative Frequency Coaching Training. So I want to explain there are 8 foundations to the creative frequency journey. These are foundations that you will get to know intimately in the training. This training is first and foremost a personal journey. We have to fill ourselves up first and serve others from our overflow. And it's a journey that you do in community, because we learn so much from each other, right? And we come from different backgrounds. Some of the women already in the training, like I said, some are experienced Creatively Fit coaches. Some are artists that want to learn how to teach others how to loosen up and find their own expression and, paint more wildly and freely. Other people perhaps have just started painting, maybe with one of my programs or somebody else. They're newly convicted about the power of this creative practice and how it ripples out into everything. And then there's everything in between. So these foundations are experiences that you are invited to have personally, share in the community, and then understand how to turn around and offer to others. The first 4, we're calling the 4 elements. And there are the 4 elements and the 4 shifts. So these are the 4 elements of the Creative Frequency Coaching Training and what you would offer as a Creative Frequency coach, whether it's through your own coaching business, whether it's through your own online programs, whether it's through teaching workshops in person in your community, traveling and teaching, retreats, whether you're like, Whitney, I have no clue how I'm going to share this. I just know I'm feeling attracted to it. I'd love that. You will know by the end of the 8 months exactly how to do it. And what I love to do is to help you intuit what is the most natural for you, and is kind of like a continuation of a dance that you've started. You've been prepared perfectly for this in one way, shape, or form. So these four elements are not in these separate buckets and are experienced separately. They interweave and complement and even share elements with each other. So first, of course, painting is the kind of the focal point, the main element. And it's important to understand that when I opened my art center in 1996, I opened it in Nashville in a kind of up and coming neighborhood. I had no art experience. I hadn't painted on a canvas since I was 9, since the art teacher told me drawing wasn't my thing, until I opened the art center, literally. And when I had the art center in its first location from 96 to 2004, we had painting classes, but we also had pottery classes and mosaic classes and the sculpey clay and drawing and all kind of paper mache, like all kinds of modalities and mediums. In 2004, I moved into a much smaller space, partnered with a woman. We ended up opening a wine bar next door, wild and crazy journey, but I had a much smaller space. So I couldn't offer all the projects. And the only reason I focused on painting was because what I had observed over the years was that my students that did the mosaics and the drawing, even paper mache, pottery, all that, would express hesitation, resistance, or fear, like, well, I can't paint at a canvas. They would still be in fear around painting. But my painting students weren't afraid to do anything else. So when I had to pick one medium in this small studio space, I chose painting because that's what people were the most afraid of, which meant that's where the biggest transformation was. That's where I saw people's lives changing. So the only reason I focus on painting is because of that. It is incredibly transformational. And I do believe the fear, like how many of you have spent time in your life saying, oh, I'm not creative, I can't even draw a straight line, or, you know, being afraid of sharing your work with other people, right? I used to be like that totally. I mean, I did not think it was available to me. And when you realize that it's available to you, your unconscious mind has to go back and reevaluate everything else you've been telling yourself you can't do. So painting is the main element. Then there's energy. Clearly, creative frequency is focusing on and spotlighting the truth that everything is energy, and everything exists as energy before it exists as matter. If you have my books, 30 Days to Unstoppable and Rise Above, Free Your Mind One Brushstroke at a Time, those are both speaking to that from different angles, right? This training also includes a tailor-made creative frequency Qigong sequence that was created for us by Creatively Fit coach Jackie Van Weel, who I was staying with in Australia when this all happened, who's been an energy worker most of her life. And so you will learn a Qigong sequence that you'll be able to experience for yourself, and then also use with clients, and, you know, however you want to use it to help us embody this frequency. Because a lot of what we're experiencing right now in this modern Western world is this overthinking thing. We're in our heads too much, okay? And trying to make sense and logic of this world, and where it's much more of a creative process. So we're going to embody through the Qigong and how painting in this practice can be energy work, and how to work with energy as well. Then there's intuition. Intuition, I've had so many students and people in the training like message me, and they're like, my intuition is off the charts right now. Is this normal? Yes, it is. You can also think of intuition as your highest form of wisdom. It's that knowing. It's like when you say, I know in my bones, or when you get that aha, that's like the perfect answer. This is the intuition and the wisdom that we're meant to be able to access. It's different from knowledge and book reading. It's a deep inner knowing, and it's sourced from the present moment. And so intuition and painting intuitively helps us to live intuitively. And many of us have had the experiences, I'm sure you have. You could put a heart or a reaction, any reaction on your screen if you've experienced this, where you've had the experience of both making a decision that was logical but maybe in the end didn't end up being the best for you. And then the experiences that or decisions that you made intuitively that weren't logical, but led to, new opportunities and amazing things. So intuition is something that we learn to nurture and look for and intend and then live from, as well in the creative frequency program. And then sacred symbols, which are very much connected to all of these things: energy, intuition, and painting. Symbols are a language that we are being offered, guidance we are being offered every single day. Of the millions of bits of information our brains are processing in every second, like 85% of that information is visual. So when you are particularly resonant with a shape, a color, when something is appearing over and over and over again, in quantum physics, they talk about if something repeats more than once in a 24-hour period, you're being called to notice. These are things you can count on. And so we're going to also be exploring how to work with sacred symbols. These are images that I created with AI on Midjourney to make visible the understanding I had around what the creative frequency is. Many of you have heard me say before that I've felt like when I go up to the canvas, it's like I'm meeting the canvas with the paintbrush, and it's like my higher self is meeting me on the other side. Engaging in this creative frequency, as I now know it, connects me to the spaciousness, a la Green Tara, if you've done the Tara program. So I love in this image how, the spaciousness, this field of pure potentiality, the cosmos, is kind of inseparable from the canvas. This is reflecting sacred symbols. Many of you know owls are kind of my main animal totem for sure. And I've had the most incredible owl stories. And you learn how to follow these. You'll probably, in the course of this training, be made aware of symbols that have been with you since childhood and how they've guided you or how they are mirroring back for you one of your biggest superpowers. And then there are the 4 shifts that we're going to make. And again, these are shifts that you'll then be able to share and offer to clients, students, friends, family. So the first shift we make is understanding that this creative frequency coaching, this painting practice that we're all passionate about and getting to know in whatever, for however long, is connected to a new story around creativity. This isn't the old story that most of us grew up with, where I remember, very much understanding like some people are born with this creative gene and others aren't. It'd be like, oh, so-and-so is a really good drawer. Their grandmother was an artist. Kind of put on this pedestal. And then as we got older, right, even if you were someone who was, blessed with this creative gene, you were probably discouraged from pursuing the arts because, what's that going to get you? And, all the things. The new creative story is not product oriented. It's not interested in who has talent. It's not result oriented. The new creative story is that we are here to create. That creativity is like your chi. It's like breath. Like if you weren't creative, you would just lie in bed all day. Okay, we're constantly creating. The only question is if we're doing it with or without awareness. I remember in like 2012, 2013, I left my marriage. I moved into my own house. I rented a house near my kids' school, and I pulled out the 4 agreements again. Books for me are often like oracle cards, like a title will catch my eye and I'll pull it off the shelf. And in reading just the intro, Don Miguel Ruiz explained how in the Toltec tradition that he came from, the word for human was artist. And he said, the art that you're creating is your life. The only question is if you're doing it with or without awareness. And I had read that book years ago and I'd totally forgotten all of that, right? And so it felt like this huge affirmation or like message, like keep going. So this is what we're talking about. The new creativity, which you could say is the ancient creativity. The reason we've always created as humans is because we're here to create. It's through the creative practice that We do connect to a higher purpose. We do align with our most authentic expression. And it's not actually about creating product. It's about creating life. It's energy. It's our words. It's our thoughts. It's how we move through our life. And connecting and getting to know yourself as a creator at the canvas changes life dramatically. So that's the first thing that we make sure everybody understands, because the whole I'm not creative, I can't draw a straight line, that's all sourced from the old creative story, not the new one. The second shift is understanding that painting is energy work. It is about frequency. It is about getting to know yourself. It is about learning to focus on what you desire more of, rather than allowing worry and stress to paint pictures of what you don't want in your mind. Painting is where you can go when you're in a bad mood, when you're feeling frustrated, when you're feeling overwhelmed, when you're feeling hopeless. You go to the canvas to focus on what you want, even if it's just like magenta, which is where I am right now. Like magenta is my color right now. You leave the canvas at a higher frequency. The third shift is that you have your own creative frequency. This is one of the biggest things that, I don't know if it seems like a small thing, but as I've really sunk into this creative frequency and in creating this coaching training, what I've come to understand is that each of us have our own creative frequency. You might imagine her as a guide or a particular color or a sensation. For me, she feels very feminine, very motherly, like very nurturing and excited to work with us. And it feels like you've got this incredible ally. It is unique to you and you get to know it. The first thing you do when you enroll in the coaching training, there's the welcome section. And then there is getting to know your creative frequency. And there are 3 exercises that you get to do to begin to open up to getting to understand the other frequencies you engage with on a day-to-day basis, naming those, understanding the difference between the creative frequency and whatever you might consider its contrasting frequency, and then how to make it your own. And then the fourth shift is living in resonance with this creative frequency, living in resonance with the truth that we do have more solutions than problems, that there's always something we can change and influence. And this is an energy that each of us that step into that and speak from that and move from that and share from that and, speak and raise our children and go to work in that frequency resonant with creative possibility. It's medicine for the world right now, because we know a lot of people are struggling. You can't be creative and depressed at the same time. They've researched that. So living life this way is incredibly empowering, and it also impacts others, which is a marvelous thing. So your creative frequency will show up differently. It'll show up as different colors. It'll show up with different symbols. This was one way I imagined it, that you can like walk this golden path, or maybe it's a magenta path or a rainbow path, but it's a life that is informed, where each step is informed by possibility, by creativity. And there is the structure to the training is intended to meet your different learning styles, how you connect, how you best learn in different ways. So the structure is, it's 8 months. There are 8 principles of design that are the focus for each month. The 8 Rise Above lessons are a focal point for each month. The 8 foundations of the training, we have 8 creative frequency prompts every month of 8. The number 8 has been showing up like crazy with this training, but it is 8 months long. You have a year to complete the training to become certified. You have lifelong membership in the CCFC community, which is made up of the 600 plus creatively fit coaches, as well as creative frequency coaches. There's no separation or anything. It is a dynamic community worldwide that is very engaged and compassionate. In reality, the coaching training, and those of you who've done the creatively fit coaching, you could type in the chat your experiences. It's really never ending if you don't want it to be. We collaborate all the time, whether it's on online programs, like if you've seen the 24-hour paint jam or the Festival of Feminine Power and Artistry. Those are online programs that feature creatively fit coaches. At the retreat I hold almost every year, creatively fit coaches teach at that. We do collaborative marketing programs like the Yes Extravaganza, where we're just inviting the world to paint the word yes so they can feel into how simple this practice is, and also how powerful what you paint is. And nobody's afraid to paint the word yes. There's constant collaboration. There are coaches that have created membership groups together, travel and co-teach retreats. It just goes and goes. It's a magical community. But the training itself is 8 months and kind of guided by the number 8. The content for the training is available to you. Content is released monthly, and it includes pre-recorded online lessons. So you have complete flexibility to work it into your schedule. There are online courses like all of Rise Above is included. All new creative frequency content is included. And then there are excerpts from the Art Gypsy Greece course, which is watercolor, which is very much around intuitive painting. The I Am the Unstoppable Dream, the mandala painting with sacred geometry. You will do that painting practice in totality. The 21-day painting meditation challenge and more are available in this coaching training. You have access to all of the entirety of those courses, as well as the parts that are in the actual training themselves. So we have 8 months of curriculum that are released, made live each month. There's the online content that are these online programs that are available to you at your leisure. We all tend to have busy lives in my experience, and flexibility is one of my biggest values. So you have access to that at all times. I mentioned the Qigong and the sacred soul symbols. So we have creatively fit coaches that have collaborated on the content. We also have live Zooms every Thursday at 2 p.m. Pacific. So this exact time on Thursdays, every other Thursday is a training call, and those are all recorded. And the other 2 Thursdays are open studios. So you can hop on the open studio and paint whatever it is you're working on with the course. And it's an opportunity to connect with the community, to learn from each other, to ask questions. And so you just know every Thursday at 2, 5 p.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Sydney, you click the same Zoom link and you plug into the community. And like I said, the training calls are recorded. There's also a Facebook group that is just for the people in the training. So if you watch the replay from the group training call, you can hop on and post, share live your share or feedback or questions or whatever based on the group call. This Facebook group is where you really get to know each other, and you're kind of cheering each other on. You can ask, questions from the community and the group. People have made friends. There are creatively fit coaches who have made friends, who have collaborated with people who feel like, soul sisters who've never met in person. And then sometimes we do meet in person and forget we haven't met in person, like Stephanie. I thought I'd met Stephanie in Australia. I'm like, we've met before, right? She's like, no. How is that possible? So the Facebook group is really, really lovely. And so that also creates a lot of flexibility as well, depending on your time zone or work schedule or things like that. It's a very dynamic group and lots of fun. Also, this training includes a kind of biz in a box, like an online program, my Rise Above, a transformational painting challenge that is put together for you to use, whether on your own online teaching platform like Teachable or Kajabi or any of those. I use Teachable, or to use as a coaching program. Maybe you work or want to work with people one-on-one or group coaching. You can include the online content. It can be offered to them through Google Drive or Dropbox or a private Facebook group. You could also teach Rise Above as an 8-week or an 8-month series. and offer the online or the pre-recorded training as a bonus or as a way if they can't make all the lessons. You create complementary lessons. So the Rise Above, if you haven't done my Rise Above course, it's 8 lessons, 8 main videos where you're painting with acrylics on a big canvas. And there's a PDF that really illustrates why this painting practice wants to support and how it does support you living as a life artist. It talks about developing the inner witness. It talks about balancing the inner critic. It talks about working with symbols. It talks about detachment, all these real life things. It's like the course that I would have loved to have created at the beginning, but like I didn't know then what I know now. And it's the place that now I'm like, anyone who wants to know what I'm doing or wants to get started, this is where you go. Then in my Rise Above, I created a second video for each lesson. So each of the 8 lessons has 2 videos. The one, the kind of the master lesson that I created, the acrylic painting. And then the second lesson for me was the Bali Painting Yoga series. And I took my favorite element from the main lesson and expanded upon it and painted in my art journal with gouache while I was traveling in Bali. And those are the second videos. Desiree East, who this is her Rise Above online course. If you go to desireeast.com/Rise Above Motherhood Painting, she took her Biz in a Box Rise Above course and added her videos with a focus on motherhood. So she is homeschooling. I think her daughter is like 7 now, and she works with moms and she paints with her daughter. And so her Rise Above videos are her sharing how much creativity and motherhood support each other. And other people, other coaches are like Jen Day is creating her Rise Above to also illustrate how gene keys and the creative practice are connected. She does gene keys and human design readings. And so this is going to be her introduction to creativity and gene keys. Nancy Zick has taught yoga and meditation for a long time. So her videos to complement mine are around painting and yoga. So you're adding your unique color to Rise Above. So this is included in the training. So the everything you need to create the videos and put together and offer your Rise Above course is included in this training. So that conceivably at the end of the 8 months, you could start selling your own online program right away. So that gives you a very tangible way to get started. There is as much structure or as little structure as you want. So those of you who've done the Creatively Fit coaching, you might share your experience there, but I have outlines, workshop outlines, the Rise Above that you can use in so many different ways, graphics and schedules and all kinds of things to help you kind of plug and play. And I also love just as much the contrasting experience where you take the medicine that's already in your medicine bag and you let this painting practice and this creative frequency come through you. And I love that. I love helping to intuit, bring my eagle eye view and offer what I see as kind of your zone of genius. So there's really no end to what you can do with this training. There are people, coaches teaching in-person workshops abundantly and not really offering online programs, or they started just offering in person and have grown to offer online programs. There are other people that came in with coaching practices or therapy practices or social work practices, and now they're offering painting to their clients and they're offering their coaching or therapy to their art clients. People are leading retreats like Gina Daniels, who's here, leads retreats in Costa Rica. So there's no end. People have done corporate workshops. They've taught at schools, after school programs. There are coaches that really are so comfortable with the intuitive and staying present that they really just start painting and sharing and offering, and people reach out to them. One of the things that I recommend is to start sharing from the very beginning, just sharing, whether it's with people that you email, on social media, I'm doing this training. I'm going to share my journey with you. And if you're interested in getting to know your own creative frequency, reach out to me. And, at the end of this training, I'm going to be offering my own program. And when people share like that, Lori Poff Kellogg also has a Rise Above course, and she shared through her entire training. And by the end, she had people commenting, like daily, like, I see you, I see what you're doing. I want to know, teach me how to paint. So there's really no end to how you do this. I have no attachment. I love saying, I'm going to spoil this. The kickoff call, I tell you, I don't care what you do in this training. I don't care. All I care about is what you want to do. And I love empowering you to do that. I know that when you resonate with this work and this creative practice, that there's a reason for that resonance. And I honor that. And I know and trust that you will be shown like how you're meant to share it with the world. So there is no end to the possibilities. Okay. So if you register WhitneyFreyaStudio.com, this Creative Frequency Day bonus happened, but that bonus, the replay and everything you need to have your own Creative Frequency Day is in the training. When you register, you get instant access to lots of information and the 3 exercises, getting to know your creative frequency. You get access to those right away. And it's wonderful to do those before we meet for the kickoff call on the 26th. So is the coaching training, Gail, the coaching, creatively fit coaching, creative frequency coaching training in a nutshell. Other people have asked things like, how much time do you need? And any of you who've been in the creatively fit training, you could answer for yourself. People kind of, how you work. Like, are you kind of sit down and get her done, or do you like to do things really slowly? I've always recommended to expect 4 to 6 hours a week for the training. Ideally, it's lovely to do like an hour 4 times a week, for an hour and a half 4 times a week, something like that, because regular creative practice is what, just like physical practice, like it gets us in the flow. And then part of the experience is also getting off whatever the track is you intended and getting yourself back on, right? So, some people have told me they're traveling. I travel, like it's very flexible in that way. But in general, 4 to 6 hours a week. There is now the time twice a month, every other Thursday, there's the open studio where you can hop on and paint, whatever it is you're painting. So there's that kind of built-in accountability. So 4 to 6 hours a week is a general time frame. And people always ask if there's like the business training in it. Yes, there is everything you need to begin the journey. And then, like I said, the community is very active. A lot of coaches join the Women's Synergy Collective after that I created for women entrepreneurs to continue with business coaching. That's super affordable. So there's like as much or as little structure and support as you want, but the business part is covered. Trina, anything in person or live online? So every Thursday at 2 p.m. is live on Zoom, just like this. So every other week is an open studio where you can work on whatever it is you're working on in the training. And then the other Zoom is a training call that's led by myself and Angela Murray, who's a master coach. And there'll be existing creatively fit coaches that which there are like 25 plus in this training that will also be, just adding their experience and their voices as well. So the Zoom online is really lovely. And then moving forward, when I travel, typically, like I'm reaching out to creatively fit coaches, collaborating their retreats. People have started doing regional retreats. Like we love to get together in person. I've been doing the retreat in Joseph here where I live the last 3 years. The next one will be 2026. So we love getting together in person. And like I mentioned, we're always almost surprised when we meet each other that we haven't met in person, because it feels like we have. So yeah, Stephanie, did you want to say something? Oh, you got to unmute yourself, darling. You're not unmuted. So if you have any other questions, put them in the chat or raise your hand or unmute yourself when Stephanie's done. And then pretty soon I will stop the recording. And if you have questions you want to ask off the recording, we can do that. Hello, darling.
Oh, I think someone asked if there was any face-to-face training, and I'm living in Melbourne now, and I thought if there's any people here in Melbourne who wanted to get together every now and then face-to-face, we could paint together, because sometimes I know that, you know, people need to be in the same room with each other. So I'm here. If anybody wants to connect with me, then maybe we could, you know, meet every now and then and paint together.
Well, and Jackie Van Weel, I don't know if Jack, who just came on, is Jackie. She's in Melbourne as well. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah. There's a few of us here. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Like there's 600 plus all around the world. So so there are people getting together. This summer, it seems like I've been seeing coaches. Tammy Van Olsen in Colorado met up with Karen in Boise, and Karen Adamski, Shama Mama in California, and Janice, and, you know, like there's a lot of interaction. Atlanta, Trina, I would have to check in. I'm like not thinking immediately of anyone in Atlanta, which is weird to me, but anyway, the in-person is super fun. Okay, does anyone else have any questions? I've answered all the questions. Wow, I'm good. Okay, I'm gonna end the recording. If you watch the replay, thank you for watching the replay. Again, creative frequency, it's all about resonance, right? Like if you feel the resonance, if it's like, wow, it's like you're saying my words, this is what I've been talking about, or, you know, it's like I know this community already, or this is how I feel about creativity, or dot to dot to dot. Trust that. That's all I can say. If you're like somehow your logical mind is trying to figure out how to make this logical, or I don't know, like if it doesn't resonate, don't do it, please. Don't. I really, you want the resonance, and if it feels resonant, everything will fall into place. You know, my 28 years as an entrepreneur, I've invested, I've been in debt, I've paid off debt. But what I know for sure is when I'm investing time, money, energy in the direction of anything that I want to expand, it's a good thing. And so I trust that, and I would advise you, that would be my best advice. You know, do the 24 hours, see what comes up. And if you feel the resonance, join us, because it's pretty life-changing, right, ladies? So I will look forward to connecting with you more.